Thank you so very much for being back. This is still Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television to our conversation for today. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana, SAN, and activist Chidi Odinkalu, SAN, have supported SERAP in its legal fight with the Department of State Services. The controversy started after a federal high court ordered SERAP to pay 100 million naira damages and publish apologies in a defamation case filed by DSS officials Sarah John and Gabriel Ogundele. The Committee for the Defense of Human Rights urged SERAP to obey the judgment immediately, despite the group planning to appeal. A veteran journalist Richard Akinnola criticized CDHR, calling its opposition hypocritical and accusing activists of siding with the security agency against a civil rights group. He argued that appeals are normal in defamation cases and referenced past legal battles involving late lawyer Gani Fawehinmi. Falana also rejected CDHR's stance, stating that filing an appeal is a legal right and does not amount to disobeying any court order. His Greatness Agada Ego Esquire still here with us. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for hanging on.
My pleasure having being with you again and again.
All right.
I'm at your...
Thank you so very much for your time. Truly do appreciate you. Barrister, you listened to my reportage there. Two heavyweights in the legal system, Odinkalu SAN and Femi Falana SAN, all sided with SERAP against the DSS that had taken SERAP to court. The court equally had told the SERAP to pay 100 million naira as a defamatory charge against them, and equally apologized to two national newspapers and television. That's a big one, Barrister. But just before we get into that, I'd love you to speak to what do you think really should be the role of lawyers, legal luminaries in our court system. Do you think they are doing more than enough in ensuring that justice is being served, and equally the last hope of the common man is being taken care of by them?
First of all, just allow me to correct you. You know, I've never met Chidi Odinkalu. I've never met him.
Okay.
I always look seeing him in our conference, but maybe I'm here, he's there. I've never met him, but you know, I respect him a lot. In fact, if there's a legal practitioner I respect most, it is Chidi Odinkalu. But he is not an SA.
He is not an SAN.
Professor of law, not just
really?
professor. He is a professor of law, but he's not an SAN.
Okay.
Even though he was the chairman of a Human Rights Commission some years ago,
okay,
but he's not SAN. Okay. And this speaks to the fact the best lawyers we have in Nigeria are not SAN. They may not have SAN titles, because you know SAN is just an award. It's just an award. Not because you didn't write the examining qualifying exams for it. So that one, to me, convinces me that the best lawyers we have in Nigeria are not SANs. And that one also...
But why are preferential treatments given to SANs? Why are preferential treatments given to them?
And that, you know, this one, thank you for asking me this question. Why is it? You know, in Nigeria, we borrow things from other jurisdictions which we do not have the culture and the discipline to really follow the rigors to enforcing. That's the problem in Nigeria. In Nigeria today now, people have made allegations that before they get SAN titles, they have to go and see certain people compulsorily. They have to pay fees, pay money.
Wow.
They pay money to certain people for them to be able to get that SAN. Some say they spend upwards of maybe up to 100 million naira.
Wow, really?
So one recommendation I can make about this SAN rank, personally, as SAN is now, I do not desire or intend to be an SAN. Rather, what I desire to be is an SAM, Senior Advocate of the Masses. That's what I desire. I want to be. I don't want to be an SAN. Except this SAN is now reformed to the extent that SAN is not at the pleasure of the Supreme Court, but SAN becomes, once you become 12 years post-call, automatically you are an SAN. And you don't need to go to Abuja, you don't need to buy special wig and gown, you don't need to get anything, just is by age. Just like, for example, now qualification for you to be Supreme Court judge is by age. Once you get to an age post-call, you become. So my advice is that it should be reformed. So once you become 12 years, you receive it in your house, and you receive automatically. Because one of the mottos of the NBA is promoting the rule of law. Promoting the rule of law. And one of the duties we have is to promote equality among all Nigerians. There is no first-class Nigerian. There should be no second-class Nigerian. There should be no third-class Nigerian. There should be no concept such as, even though all animals are equal, some animals are more equal than the others. Now, if this is one of the duties of Nigerian lawyers, if we now have an association where we do not practice what we preach, where we are not practicing what we preach, how is an association who is unable to ensure equality among all its members, how is that association going to implement equality among all Nigerians? It is impossible. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot give what you do not have. Charity must begin at home. And so one of the redemption, one of the immediate reformation we need in NBA is to ensure that truly all Nigerian lawyers are equal. There should be no inner and outer bar. It's discriminatory. There should be one Nigerian bar for all Nigeria, for the whole Nigeria. So we must break that barrier, that wall, that Berlin Wall between West Germany and East Germany. We must knock it down. And the time has come. The time has come for that, because it is even long overdue. So it must be reformed so that the people who become SANs is by age in the bar, because that's what is believed. That's the tradition. Age in the bar. Once you become 12 years, you are an SAN. No traveling to Britain to buy materials. No ceremonies. You remove unnecessary expenditure traveling to Abuja for festivities. Just in your house, you become SAN for every lawyer. So because you know one of these things that it has done, this SAN desire to be an SAN, is that it has made many lawyers who would have been radical, vibrant, fight for justice, to be scared that, oh, if I fight against certain controversial things, it may deny me the opportunity to be an SAN. So when they see in the court, or they see cases of judicial corruption, they are unable to take it up, shout it, stand it, because they say, if I take this now and I step on certain toes, in my desire or quest to be an SAN, it will now be used against me.
Oh, Barrister, so now I know, Barrister, just to interject for a bit here, now I know why, because I have had the opportunity of inviting some legal luminaries here that I consider very, very sound and bright. But anytime I make the call, they reject the opportunity of speaking just like you on television. And I was wondering why a lawyer would reject the opportunity of speaking to issues that he understands better. So is it because most of them have the quest to become SAN and they wouldn't want to violate any disciplinary measure?
Not disciplinary measure. Freedom of speech is the right, is the inalienable right of all Nigerians. Or you know, we say the truth is bitter, But one of the duties we have as lawyers is to clearly and boldly and courageously call a spade always, no matter whose ox is God. No matter whose ox is God, you call a spade a spade. That's one of the duties that is we may not be even fulfilling, because I see many times where you are supposed to condemn certain things, you now start more or less patronizing people's ego, start praising them, going to praise singing by even very senior people you consider very senior lawyers. You see that they are able to tell somebody that what you have done is unlawful, it's wrong, it's unprocedural. We see that happening. And so, coming directly to your question, aligning it to your question, what roles can we play to make the Nigerian judiciary courts the courts of our dream? You know, funny enough, I'm in Ozorna, I was in a full high court yesterday in Warri, and I was talking with one lawyer who works in Ministry of Justice in the other state, and I was even saying that, now wow, citing some instances, I said the Nigerian judiciary is failing badly. He now told me that, can't say you're wrong, it's not failing, the Nigerian judiciary has failed completely. I said, and I told him, so if you know this, why is it that you don't say it publicly? He said, if I say it, they will come and haunt me. I may even lose my work if I say this truth. So one of the roles lawyers, not only MBA, all lawyers, individual lawyers must play, and that is the reason why I'm a lawyer, and this is my ambition, is we must serve as checks and balances to the judiciary. We must serve as checks and balances to the Nigerian judiciary, always. We must serve as checks and balances to the Nigerian judiciary if we must back the judiciary of our dreams. If the judiciary of our dreams must come to fruition, it must be the hard work of each and every Nigerian lawyer. Any court you go to, when you see something unprocedural, something unlawful, something illegal, if you see something, you say something. You say it, you write petition, you write complaint to the appropriate authority. Where necessary, you file a suit. There are cases when you see certain infraction that you will need to file a suit. You are bound, you are duty bound, you are conscience bound to file a suit, even against the judicial officer for doing something very wrong. Maybe after writing petitions, they are not being heard, you file a suit for your fundamental rights or the fundamental rights of parties involved for violation of the right of fair hearing. So by the time you take these kinds of steps, it helps to check, you are now serving as a check on the Nigerian judiciary to bring it to accountability, to do what it ought to do. So, but what we find out is that this duty, this role, and of course, every lawyer must be a whistleblower. Why do I like Chidi Odinkalu? He's a whistleblower, unpaid whistleblower, voluntary whistleblower on all issues. Without, yeah, you can see him. He looks soft, delicate, weak, gentle, but you can see his work speaks for him. Even me, I'm a whistleblower. If I see anybody in court doing something wrong, no matter how highly placed, I will make it a formal complaint to the appropriate authority. And I'm not doing it because I hate the person, but I'm doing it so that we can lift this system up. But now the question is, what's the percentage of lawyers who are playing this role of checks and balance? It will shock you to know that with maybe over 100 senior advocates of Nigeria and even many other lawyers, they may not be up to 20. 0.00001 lawyers are playing the role of checks and balance to the courts. And of course, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. When we say the motto of MBA is promoting the rule of law, it's not only to promote the rule of law in an executive arm, governor, you complain and the rest. It's not only to promote rule of law in a legislative arm, you complain about parliament and but most importantly, the one
Are you there, barrister? Okay, I think we lost a barrister right there. Technical issues, and I love to believe that he would join anytime so we can finish up this matter at hand. We have less than 3 minutes or 4 to do that. I hope he rejoins so we can talk more. And barrister was speaking to the issue of lawyers doing the job they have been called to bar to do. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, that seems not to be the case. Lots of Nigerians have lost confidence in our judicial process. Most Nigerians would rather love to take issues to people that we consider as non-state actors than taking issues to the court because they've lost confidence in our judicial process. Yes, thank you for being back. Yeah, so just finish up on your thoughts, please.
Okay, so it's not only to play these checks and balance to the Tinubu administration, Oboiwori's administration, or Akpabio's administration in the Senate. It is so, but most importantly, because like I said, charity begins at home. Where is our home? Our home is the courtroom. And we must play the role. So one of the things I see is that when you see courts acting arbitrarily, is because they have seen that lawyers are docile. They take everything for granted once it's coming from the court. And again, too, the point must be told that one of the things lawyers must now take seriously is what we consider bad judgment. Bad judgment. The only remedy in dealing with bad judgment cannot be filing an appeal that will be heard 3 years' time. When a judge writes a bad judgment, reports it, carry everything to the NJC or the appropriate authority, bring it before them.
But don't you think bad judgment is subjective, barrister? Don't you think bad judgment is subjective? Because to you, it might be bad. To the other counsel, it is not bad judgment. So don't you see it from that light?
You know, let me just say this before I respond directly to that. I was in an anti-corruption conference organized by the Abuja branch of Nigerian Bar Association, 2013. Even Tambuwa was in that meeting. I think he was the chairman of that occasion that year. And one of the things, one of the remedies they gave in fighting corruption is to name and shame. To name and shame. Now, in giving a judgment, there are clear criteria that a judge must carry out before arriving at a decision. Number one, he is bound by judicial precedent, meaning that if you cite a court of appeal decision for a high court or federal high court or Supreme Court, and he's unable to distinguish it from this case, he is bound to follow it. So if he doesn't distinguish it and he does not abide by it, it's a bad judgment. It's a bad judgment. Secondly, he must consider the authorities. You cannot, but what some judges do now is, since they don't want to consider this authority to bind them, they will avoid it in their judgment. They will pretend as if in the written address or in your argument, they did not see it. If I hear nothing, I say nothing, I do nothing. Deaf and dumb will do that. So that also is a function. It shows clearly that it's a bad judgment because you are supposed to consider all the arguments, all the principles of law, all the exhibits, all the evidences brought before you get to make a decision. So when you refuse to do this, even without an appeal already, when you bring it before an administrative panel like the National Judicial Council, and they see that a judge breaches this, because a judge should not be associated with appearance of wrongdoing. Appearance, not wrongdoing, mere appearance of wrongdoing is liable for punishment. So when a judge does these things I've said, it means that the judge has breached his oath of office and is liable to be punished. is liable to be punished. So that is one of the things lawyers must not champion, apart from the traditional panacea of appeal, is when you see something, say something. When you see a bad judgment, write to the appropriate authority. Write to the authority so that they will call the judge, the judice, to explain how did you arrive at this? These were the processes before you. How did you now leave these processes and went on a voyage of self-discovery to now get? A judge should not be fishing. A judge is bound by what is put before it. A judge cannot go and get material. A judge cannot even raise issues without calling on the parties to address it. When a judge does that, it means the judge is biased. It means it is wrongdoing. And at times, it is simple evil. Evil is happening in our courts. Evil is happening. You know, we use very light language to paint something that is very disastrous. Evil is happening in our courts. And as lawyers, when we see evil, we must, if we see something, we say something. That's the only way we can redeem the judiciary. Thank God the Nigerian judiciary is still redeemable. But we as lawyers, we must play active role, not minding our sound aspiration, not minding it. Because you must place first thing first before second thing second. Because if care is not taken and the judiciary is continually discredited, we may not have a judiciary to hand over to our children, not to talk of grandchildren.
Right.
We may not have a judiciary to hand over that they will be going to court to appear. We may not have. Because one of my fears every night before I sleep is that I keep becoming scared and having trauma that one of these days a court may give a judgment that will set the 36 states of Nigeria and Abuja on fire in a state of emergency and set the whole nation on fire. I keep having that fear. But as lawyers, we must play active role so that the judiciary is redeemed. So that this suit of SERAP, which Falana and my very good elder brother, Chidi Odinkalu, has condemned, things like this will not happen.
All right.
Things like this will not happen. Because people feel that.
Are you there, barrister? All right, I think we lost the barrister yet again, but I love to believe he was just about to conclude on his thoughts there. And I'm so excited that all of this admonition is coming from a lawyer with a skin in the game who has seen and has experienced how the judiciary in Nigeria is not doing the work it has been asked or assigned by the Constitution to do. If this is coming from a lawyer, imagine what the common Nigerian, would be experiencing when bad judgment is passed on issues that are glaringly very obvious. It's quite sad. We hope and we pray for that time when the judiciary in Nigeria would be solely independent, where everything will be done the way it should be done, a situation where the executive would not be there building homes and properties for our judges, because, of course, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. We would want to see a situation where the true independence of the judiciary would be achieved in Nigeria, so we can have a wonderful society. Because a society without judiciary is a society where all sides fits all, and it's a carnage actually of a society, and that's not our prayer for Nigeria. Thank you so very much, barrister, for your time. Truly do appreciate you, and we have to close shop for today. Thank you so very much for your time, also for being part of our show. We truly do appreciate you, barrister. Thank you. Sorry we had to close because of the very bad connection that we have. Thank you so very much. I have to leave. My name is Henry Igwebike. Please do well to visit us. You can find us at Enterprise TV7. Have yourself a splendid weekend. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye.